Hello Infiniteers, I am back in Disneyland to continue working on my Small World ride, and today I'm going to work on the landscaping around the outside of the building. This will almost finish the build exercise for this toy box. The only thing we'll have left will be the Small World toy store, which will sit over here, but I'm going to build that next time. So I want to start today with the flower bed, but I've got Black Panther with me today, and he's representing the people of Africa, so that's that's a good thing to use. Again, I'm trying to use characters that represent the different cultures of the world, but today it's the Black Panther. So as I said, we're going to start on the flower bed that's here in front of the building, and here's a photo of that from the actual ride at Disneyland. As you can see, this flower bed is kind of a raised area that's surrounded by a white fence. There are lots of colorful flowers and two topiaries that are shaped like dolphins. And since I don't have any topiaries with that shape in the toy box, I'm going to use the bushes that are shaped like Nemo. I think that'll be pretty close. There are also a couple of tall curly bushes on either side of the flower bed. And as we get started, we're going to begin with this thin and tiny terrain block. I'm going to place that right up here on the edge of this, and I've already styled this to use Rapunzel's Kingdom. I have that disc on my Disney Infinity base. Set that to be my theme, and we're going to place two of these right here like that, and then we'll pick this piece up and put it back. We're going to use this for the little hill on the front of this raised area. We'll put this corner piece on either side, and then this half-width piece on either side of the raised area. So that gives us our basic shape for the building, or for the flower bed. So I like that. And as you may have noticed, I've already got some pieces over here that we're going to need. So this piece, you find that in the plants drawer. It's the large flower bed, and we're going to be placing these right up here on the front of this like this. And just so it's not so repetitive, we'll spin this around a little bit. And as you can see, we're going to need to extend that on either side here. But let's finish putting this down. We're going to need this half-width version for over here. And then we can place these along here like this. And actually, I think I only had one row of these. Sorry. Yeah, just one row. I was getting carried away. Alright, so that's the flowers around the flower bed. And then we have this sidewalk piece. This is out of the decorations drawer. We can put this around the perimeter of that. This is just creating a really nice decorative area for the entrance to our toy box. And it kind of matches what's in the original ride. Unfortunately, our flower bed isn't round like the one in those photos. It's more of an oval shape, but this square shape does a pretty good job. I think it still looks pretty good. Okay, so we have that. And then for the bush for the dolphin, as I said, I'm going to use Nemo. You find that in the plants drawer. Again, it's the Nemo topiary. We're going to place this right up here on the edge like that. And another one right over here on the edge like this. So that looks good. And then for the curly bush, we have this topiary. It's also out of the plants drawer. This needs to sit right about here. But as you can see, we have a bounding box problem. And we have another bounding box problem because the white fence that we're going to use is the fence corner and fences out of the decorations drawer. I can't sit that here either because those hill pieces are in our way. And I can't even put those over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this piece down and that other piece down with a replayer. Okay, so to do that, I've dropped a replayer out here. We're going to set the properties on that to take the playback interval to 0, just so things go a little faster. We're going to take these pieces and just kind of move them out of the way for right now. I needed to put these down in order to lay out the flower beds and the sidewalk. But for right now, we're going to just slide these out of the way. We're going to do that on either side of this planter. Just like that. Okay. And then we'll begin with the decorations. But before we can put those down, we need to start recording on our replayer. So I'm going to come out of the editor and we'll step onto the replayer. That gives us the menu in the lower right. And on my Wii U, I press B to start recording. That's the button on the bottom. And when I start recording, you see it changes from a circle to a square icon underneath it. Then we have to step off of the replayer to get back into the editor. And now we can place our fences. And actually, I should have removed that one too. Let me go ahead and exit out of that. Got ahead of myself. All right, we'll step on the replayer, press B to stop recording. All right, let's slide that out of the way. And just to be safe, let's move that one over and put down a fresh replayer. We'll delete that one. And again, we'll set the properties so the playback interval is 0. Do you really need to do that? Probably not. But I always like to do that. Okay, so we step on, start recording, step off. Now we get back into the editor. Got to go back down to the decorations drawer. We need to put the fences in. We need a corner on either end. And then we need to put the fence in alongside of that. And a fence on the other side. And then down to the plants drawer, and we're going to put in the topiary. We'll put that back here about like that. We need one on either side. Alright, and then I will exit out of the editor. We'll step back on the replayer, and I have to press B to stop recording, and I'm going to press A to clear. Make sure you press A only once or you'll corrupt that replayer. And then we step off to get back into the editor. And now that we're back in the editor, we can move these pieces back into place. The other thing that sometimes people will do is they'll use a trigger area. Just put a large trigger area over this this whole place here, and sometimes when you're inside the trigger area, the game will ignore the bounding boxes when you're placing objects inside the trigger area. But again, that doesn't work for me reliably, so I like to use the replayer. That works a little bit more reliably for me. Alright, and now that all those pieces are back, we step on the replayer. I press Y to play back. Again, press it only once. And you'll see that puts all the objects back. At this point, we can delete the replayer. And we can take these pieces out. And actually, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that piece in here for right now, along with the topiary, just so I can get back to that part of the drawer again later. Alright, so there's the nice little planter flower bed for the front of our building, and I like how that looks. Okay, let's work on the hedges around the area next. If you look at the Small World building in this photo, you can see that it's surrounded in the back by tall green hedges. You can also catch glimpses of these hedges through the holes in the building facade. Along the front of the building, there are some square hedges. You can see them on the left, behind the bridge. There are also some topiaries here. There's a moose, and you can get a better look at that from this photo. There are also some topiaries on the other side of the bridge, which you can see in this photo. There's a horse and something else that I can't quite make out. And there are additional topiaries on the other side of the building facade, near the exit for the ride. There's a rhino and an elephant and a giraffe, among others. I'm going to add those topiaries later, but for now, let's add the hedges. And we're going to find those hedges in Building Sets Group 1. If you scroll to the left just a little bit, you come to these hedge maze pieces, and that's what we're going to use. And let me find my screen grab here for my hedges. I want to make sure I've got these. And that's a screen grab, but that's not a good one. Sorry for the delay. I try to take pictures that I think I need ahead of time. There we go. And sometimes I don't always get the best angle. Alright, so this first one we're going to drop right back here behind the Small World facade like that. And then we're going to put another one right here. Place that out like this. The next one will go here like that, and you can see we'll be able to see that hedge through that hole. So that's really good. But we'll continue running this down the side of the toy box here. And to the corner. Okay. And then we're going to put, let's see, how did I do this? I thought I had a good picture of that, but that wasn't it. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so what I actually did was I came over this way. That kind of puts that gap behind there. Then we can run these down along the side, and I'll explain what I'm doing here in a moment. Now we'll come over here and do the same thing over on this end. And let me find my screen grab for this one. Okay. So for this, we're going to place the first one kind of right off the back of that. And because of that onion-shaped dome, we have to bring this back like this. I'm going to place 3 of these here, like that, which lets you see the hedge through that hole. And then the next one is going to sit back here, like this. And again, we'll run this down the side. Like that. Bring this around. Yeah. This one will come out, and then we'll run this down the side. Okay, and oh. I'm going to place those there like that. And then on the other side, we're actually going to do something a little bit different. I think we're going to come out like this. But I need to find my screen grab that verifies that. Yeah. Come out like that. Okay. All right, so there are the hedges around the perimeter of the building. That kind of blocks in the toy box a little bit. Kind of just adds some nice detail to the grounds. Okay, I want to work now on the grounds here around the perimeter of this toy box. And mainly around this area, actually. Sorry. This is the area I have in mind. And as we come out of the ride, this is what the area looks like in our toy box right now. But this is what it looks like as you exit the real Small World ride. It basically exits onto a street. And across the street, to the left of the guy in the red shirt, is a decorative tower. We actually have this building piece among the customizable plant clusters. And behind that is the entrance for the Matterhorn bobsleds, which you can see in the background. But since I've built Small World as a standalone toy box, I've decided to omit most of that and just build a nice walkway that leads up to the building. And so that's what I'm doing here, is I'm framing this in as kind of a courtyard leading up to the building. And so we have some grassy area on this side, grassy area on that side. And that's basically what I'm building and what I'm framing in. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to do most of this offline, but I'm going to place those decorative hedges along here, and we're going to put in a sidewalk and some flower beds on this side as well. And we're also going to do the same thing on this side, and then I'm going to add all of those topiaries too. And this is going to take some time. So I'm going to do this offline because you don't need to watch me place all of that. What you really need to see is the end result. So let me do that, and then I'll be back in just a moment to give you a quick tour. Okay, I am back, and I've placed all of the plants and decorations, and let me go ahead and review those for you. So over here, we have these pieces. And these are basically these trees out of the plants drawer, Fantasy Terrain 3. And I have styled both of these with the Small World style. Excuse me. And that gives me the shape that you saw in that one photograph. And I placed two of these out here. And you can see where they're placed on the terrain. And feel free to pause the video along the way. You can look at the pieces I've used and the location on the terrain seams, and so on to help you place these in the right place. But let's start off with the topiaries. So this is the door topiary, and I place this out in the middle of this area. And we have the Agrabah topiary, Disney Castle. I've got the car over here on top of that. And around the perimeter of the building, I have these square topiaries. These are the simple topiaries, and I've rotated them, and you can see how they're centered on each of those bushes. And I've placed them around there. I've also placed this little square topiary here. And over on this side, same thing. Those go all the way around the perimeter, of the building. You can see how all those are placed. And then over here we have the car sitting on top of that one. We've got Pan's or Hook's ship over here from Peter Pan, and the clock tower. All right, and then we have some fences and flower beds and sidewalks, just like we had around the center of this flower bed over here. And you'll notice the sidewalk is lined up with the front of the hedge. The flowers go behind that, the fence behind that. We take that all the way down here to the end of the grass. The sidewalk goes all the way down. And we placed a little sidewalk piece here and two on either side over here. And then we did the same thing over here. Two sidewalk pieces, or two fence pieces, sorry. And then the fence goes all the way down to the end like you see there. This fence is right on the terrain seam. You can kind of see that right there. This fence, though, is not. You see the terrain seam is right here. So it's a little bit different on either side. But again, flower beds, sidewalk. And then we have these lamps that are out of the building sets group 3. They're the Main Street floral lamps. And you can see how these are placed. And then I did the same thing on the opposite side, except I did not put one in front of where the toy store is going to be. But these are lined up directly across from the other ones on the other side. And I also added two little street lights here. Main Street lamps out of building sets group 3. Okay, and that takes care of the front entrance area. Now down here on the queue for the ride, we added these little stone railings. The farm corner piece and the long farm wall. We basically put a nice little edging on that. And then down here we have the railings. These are the rope barriers, the white railings from building sets group 3. And you can kind of see how I placed all of those. And we also added some tables here from that same drawer. The ones at Disneyland were blue and white, but we have red and white. I placed a curly topiary on the corner of the building over here on each side, and the infinity topiary. One on each side. Over here by the exit, we have our elephant topiary, the giraffe, the rhino with the bird on top of him, and a bear. And on the opposite side, we've got the moose, we've got a dinosaur, and for our horse, we're using Bullseye. And that's all of the topiaries. So that worked out pretty good. And then around the back, behind the bushes, we've got Fantasy Terrain 3, again out of the plants drawer. These ones back here are lined up with the surface of the floor there, but they're actually out about a block or so, block and a half out from the edge of the toy box. And you can kind of note the orientation, how these are spun, with that little sprig there on the right. And if you don't get these exact, that's all right, as long as you get them close. Again, you can look at the terrain seams behind them. Now this one sits down a level when we get over here. And this one sits back a little bit from this bush. And then the others sit about a block, block and a half back from the hedges. And again, notice the orientation of these. And then I did the same thing on the other side. About a block and a half out. kind of directly across from the others, but not exact. You don't want this to look too predictable. So this one sits back a little bit from this inset bush. Then we come up a level because the ground level up here is a little higher. And this one is actually at the same line as those. I just dropped it down one block. Just add a little height variety. You can do that on some of the others as well if you want. Maybe have every other one or every third one drop down. Okay. And so now these, what you're going to do with each of these is you're going to style each of these to use these Sleeping Beauty trees, the Briar Ridge Terrain 3. I'm going to set that to be my theme because I'm going to drop a few more of these down in a second. But you'll notice the bounding box on that changes. But you're going to go through and apply that same theme to all of these large trees. But before you do that, we want some trees behind the building over here. Okay, because that's what we saw in the photos, and that's going to add a nice border behind the building. The problem with that is that when we're in the ride, I don't want to see those trees because those trees are going to be sitting up really high and they're going to block the sky dome for the inside of the building. And so when we're in the building, I don't want to see those trees at all. I want it to be like we have it right now. But when we're outside the building, I'd really like to have those trees there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use a replayer to put those down. So I've dropped a second replayer down over here. We deleted the first one, remember? This is a new one. Again, we're going to go to the properties, take the playback interval to 0. And I've already styled those trees because I did the set theme on that one over there. So we're going to come step on the replayer. I press B to start recording, step off to get back into the editor. And now we're going to put a line of these trees along the back. And some of these are going to sit up at this level, some of them are going to sit lower. But let me grab my screenshot here to make sure I kind of get these in the right place and the right orientation. So our first tree is going to sit like this, and about roughly like you see there. Then we're going to rotate it, and the next one is going to sit over here about like that. We're going to drop another one down at ground level back here, and I'm not going to rotate this one. I want this one to sit in about where it is, and I can't go any further this way because I hit that hedge. So we're going to drop that one there. Then we're going to come over, and we're going to spin this one around about like that. Let's slide it forward a little bit. Again, if you don't get these exactly right, don't worry about it. It's all right. We're just going to place some of these along the back here. This one will rotate like that. Maybe add a little distance between them. Maybe put one over here like that. Then we're going to come back up on top of this block over here. I'm going to swing this back around like that. Bring this over about like so. We'll do another one about here. We'll swing this one around and kind of put this back a little bit because we don't want them lined up in a perfectly straight line. And then the last one we'll put over here like so. Okay, and then we'll exit. You can see that looks really good. But that will not look good when we are on the other side of the trees. So let's come over here, and I'm going to step on the replayer, press B again to stop recording. And before I clear that, just to show you, if we were to have just placed these trees out here, what's going to happen now is when you're in the ride, that's what you're going to see up there. And that's just not going to look good. because that's going to block the view of the Sky Dome. So you can kind of see what I was talking about there. But when we get to the logic portion of this, we'll be able to, whoops, we'll be able to clear that replayer and play it back whenever we want. So if I were to come in here and clear this, those trees would go out. And if we play it back, the trees go back in. Alright, so now that that's done, now you can go and style all the rest of those Fantasy Terrain 3 trees. And you don't have to worry about the ones in the back colliding with those last ones that we put down with the replayer. But with that, the build exercise for this toy box is almost done now. All we have left to do is the Small World toy store at the exit, and we'll do that next time. That's all for me today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my video today. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment to let me know, and subscribe to my channel for more toy boxes like this one. You can also follow me on my blog if you like. Have a great day.